of DFS Bargains. Now, bargain hunting is a little bit harder this week because we finally got players that are on bye, but don't worry, I still got you covered with some incredible options this week. Let's dive right into it at quarterback with my bargain quarterback of the week, Mac Jones. Now, nothing about Mac Jones has exactly screamed pick me in DFS this season, but if you've watched my previous videos, and I hope you have, you'll know that I love picking quarterbacks and wide receivers that are playing against Dallas because despite how incredible they have been at creating turnovers, they've given up very high volume to opposing quarterbacks. So if there's 1 week for Mac Jones to finally break 300 yards, it's this week right here. And at his incredibly low price, it's not exactly going to take a heroic effort for him to pay off for you. Moving on to running backs, first up we've got Devontae Booker. I had a little bit of a hard time defining cheap today with Devontae Booker because the only place where he is insanely low price is Yahoo. So if you're playing in Yahoo, 100% include Booker in your lineup. But when you consider the matchup and the usage, I think he still qualifies as a bargain on other sites as well. The matchup this week is against the Rams, who have been a mixed bag on defense against the run. But what I really like about the matchup is that Booker is a very capable pass-catching back. You do have to go back to 2018 in order to find the evidence of it, but I promise that it is there if you go and look. But if the Giants are playing catch-up all day, Booker could definitely see over 5 targets out of the backfield. There's just a ton of upside here for him. Another running back to keep your eye on this week is Chris Evans. Evans hasn't really shown anything in season, but he was someone that received very glowing reports during preseason, and he could end up being a factor here if Joe Mixon is still limited and Samaje Perine is out with COVID. With Mixon being limited in action last week, Perine had 11 carries for 59 yards, 4 of 5 receiving for 24 yards, and 1 touchdown. So the opportunity is there for Evans if Perine is out. Heading over to wide receivers, and I've got several low-priced options for you to work with this week. I love the opportunity for Amon-Ra St. Brown moving forward with Quintez Cephas just placed on IR, Tyrell Williams still on IR, and TJ Hawkinson playing through an injury. Last week, St. Brown caught 7 of 8 targets. His snap count has been on the rise for the past 2 weeks and should continue to go on the rise. And he faces Cincinnati, who has been vulnerable against the pass. He can provide great value this week at a very low salary. And at this point, I feel like I'm picking on Dallas's defense, and I don't mean to, and no disrespect, because they have been doing fantastic from a fantasy perspective. But we just can't ignore how receivers just so happen to have fantastic days against Dallas. It's the exact reason that Kadarius Toney was on my bargain list last week, and if you played him, it paid off big time. Now, Kendrick Bourne isn't exactly Kadarius Toney from a talent perspective, and Jacoby Myers really is the big beneficiary here, but Myers is not cheap enough to be a bargain for me this week, and Bourne is our budget-friendly guy with the big opportunity. Now let's squeeze one more wide receiver in and go with Van Jefferson. It was definitely the Robert Woods show last week, but things could be a little bit different for Jefferson this week. I'll be kind and I will leave it at this. The Giants have some problems. It's a great matchup for Jefferson, and it could be a nice bounce back opportunity for him after going 1 of 4 last week. And finally, at tight end, I am going with Ricky Seals-Jones. Washington is okay with letting Taylor Heinicke chuck the ball whenever he needs to. He threw for 41 times last week against New Orleans. Seals-Jones caught 5 of his 8 targets last week and could have a very similar opportunity this week against Kansas City. For the past 2 weeks, tight ends against Kansas City have had a field day, so Seals-Jones could pay off at a very low price this week. And that wraps things up for this week's DFS Bargains. Be sure to check out all of our DFS Alarm content and come back next week right here for another round of DFS Bargains.